So I'm going to present about two work in progress. And I want to say this first slide is about my most recent book on mining conflicts. And I want to put this here just as the genealogy of the mining conflicts that inspired me to study these new projects on meteorological and technological disasters, because mining also create technological disasters. So we are talking about these two new projects where I ask how disasters are experimented by humans related to El Niño, Niño-Southern Oscillation floods and oil spills in Peru. And because of this conference, I also wanted to think about the isolation to understand different perceptions. This photograph is about the 2010 oil spill of BP in the Gulf of Mexico. And my work is inspired in the work of German sociologist Ulrich Beck on the dilemmas of modernity and environmental health. This quote reflects the conclusion of a report that stated how the company opted for the riskiest method because it was the cheapest, while showing the weakness of corporate social responsibility for preventing disasters. I want to locate this conversation on the so-called Anthropocene. We are living times, for the first time, human impact is considered at the geological scale. So we have to think about the Industrial Revolution and the changes that they have made on the environment at an exponential rate. Anthropocene is now considered a geological era. So this map of conflicts, I apply approaches that I used to understand conflict resolution schemes in Peru. And in the photograph, we can see blockades of highways that end up calling for roundtables for agreements. This is a pattern of conflict resolution in Peru. So this is a recent photograph of Cyclone Yaku in the Piura region in the northern Peru, posing the risk of increasing dengue cases, these diseases, due to floods based on more frequent extreme events of El Niño associated to global warming. This graph shows the UN most extended conceptual framework for disaster risk reduction, emphasizing feedback between climate and socioeconomic processes. So the map that we are going to see on the next slide is of the Piura region, showing the strategies to strengthen water governance, highlighting the lack of reforestation and conservation or restoration of ecosystems in the upper part, while there is a need of cleaning channels and improving early warning systems, all to avoid these floods that they're gonna increase. No? In this slide, I show a conceptual framework for disaster risk reduction that I'm working with an interdisciplinary team that I'm leading, where we attempt to evaluate this as a matrix for environmental governance. And this was the inspiration of different professionals called by the Ministry of Economics and the Ministry of Agriculture in Peru. This map is Tumbes, the second region that I'm comparing. They are neighborhoods. And this is a vulnerability map of floods due to El Niño and how populations get isolated by these floods. As you can see, this is like a traffic light. No? The red zones are the worst. In January 2022, two pipes connecting Repsol's ships houses to the refinery broke. And this was about 60 kilometers to the Peru's capital. This is the largest oil spill in the history of the coastal history of Peru. The history of the coastal that I started to research. And there are several chemical processes of this oil spill, including sedimentation, say sealing of the soil, as well as the reflowing of tar to the surface and the evaporation and photooxidation. No? Think about that it cuts the trophic change and the fish move to other places, which impact the fishery and the fishermen. And last month, this is a photo from last month, there were blockades of the roadblocks by residents near the refinery, especially fishermen demanding compensation and environmental restoration. And now there's a trial against Repsol, the oil company. The next photograph, we show a seat in front of Repsol offices in the financial area of the Peruvian capital, Lima, and the sign reads something like, "No more censor companies, Repsol, do your job." I have started focusing on the pattern of the media that presents the catastrophe as an isolated event, which goes against political ecology approaches, which basically show interconnections from the local to the global level, no? And I'm showing this Gregory Button book, which also inspired my work, Disaster Culture. Disaster Culture. So the media coverage also isolates humans because they make them invisible. If you see the coverage, this is an example of BBC, another international coverage is mostly animals. There's no people in the coverage. In the research, I look for lessons from oil concessions and spills in other contexts, especially in the Amazon, where they are most frequent. The yellow parts are the oil concessions in the Amazon. You can see that it's almost all the Amazon in Peru is covered by oil concessions. And the few spots in green are natural protected areas. So we are in deep trouble. So let me end with a call for research on conflicts and citizenship for equity in order to try to find compatible ways for development in nature, and a call to use this scheme to understand the problems of governments in disaster originated by meteorological and technological issues. And the cause says citizenship is not best seen as a prior condition to mining conflicts, but as one that comes to be and takes its shape through such conflicts. And that was a quote for a reviewer of my current book. And thank you.